In the past, there existed a custom where people with physical abnormalities were displayed as spectacles in circus shows. People would pay money and travel vast distances to witness these exhibitions, giving them a window into the lives of those who had endured such conditions. Well, this practice is unethical and exploitative by today's standards, but it was a very common form of entertainment during that time. Join us as we dive into the stories of 15 circus freaks who really existed. Number 15. Levvenia Warren. Levvenia Warren was a pint-sized lady who left an outsized impact on the world. She was born in Middleborough, Massachusetts in 1841, and she stood just over 2 feet tall due to a form of dwarfism, nearly matching the great General Tom Thumb, inch for inch. But despite her height, Levvenia had an irresistible magnetism that drew in audiences everywhere. She became a major figure in 19th century entertainment, establishing herself as a talented actress and adored performer. What made her unforgettable wasn't just her size, but her electric stage presence and confidence. She dazzled crowds with her grace and wit, proving that star quality isn't measured in inches. And if you remember General Tom Thumb, you'll recall he married another little person, yes, Levvenia. Together, they became a power couple in the spotlight, launching their fame to even greater heights. As the saying goes, great things come in small packages, and Levvenia was living proof, wrapped in talent, elegance, and undeniable stage magic. Number 14. Sarah Biffin. Born in 1784 without arms or fully developed legs, Sarah Biffin refused to be defined by her condition. With only her mouth and shoulder, she learned to paint, draw, and sew, skills most never imagined possible. She toured fairs and sideshows across Britain, where audiences were stunned by her precision and creativity. Her work earned serious recognition, even being praised by Charles Dickens. Despite the era's limited views on disability, Sarah sold her art for impressive amounts and was commissioned by royalty. She never begged for sympathy. Instead, she demanded respect through her talent. What made Sarah remarkable wasn't just her determination, but her refusal to let pity replace dignity. She built a career on skill, not spectacle. Her life stands as a powerful example of what's possible when the world says no and you keep going anyway. Sarah Biffin wasn't just admired, she was celebrated, and rightly so. Number 13. Anna Swan. Anna Swan was born in 1846 in Nova Scotia, Canada, and she wasn't just tall, she was towering. By age 10, she stood over 6 feet. She eventually reached 7 feet 5 inches due to gigantism, and her height drew massive attention. She, after struggling a little hard, joined P.T. Barnum's Circus, where she became one of its most admired performers. In 1865, she narrowly escaped death when Barnum's American Museum burned to the ground. Undeterred, she kept touring, captivating audiences with her presence and grace. Later, she married Martin Van Buren Bates, who was another giant, and the two became a celebrated couple, famous both for their size and their quiet dignity. They lived a remarkable life together until Anna's death in 1888. Her story isn't just about height, it's about strength, survival, and resilience. Anna didn't just rise above, she stood tall in every sense. She made the world look up, not just because of how she looked, but for how she lived. So no matter who or what you are, never underestimate yourself. Number 12. Frank Richards. Frank Richards made a name for himself in the early 1900s by doing what no one else dared, taking hits to the gut from anyone, no matter how strong. Known as the human punching bag, Frank stepped on stage and invited people, including boxers, to strike him as hard as they could. He didn't flinch or hesitate. Over time, his act escalated. Sledgehammers, wooden mallets, even a 100-pound cannonball blasted into his stomach. Still, he stayed on his feet. He didn't use any protective gear or fancy tricks. It was just his raw physical durability. It wasn't about pain, it was about pushing limits. Vaudeville crowds were both horrified and hooked. His endurance turned him into a legend, not just for the sheer force he could take, but for how calmly he did it. Frank Richards didn't ask for awe, he earned it. The guy let a cannonball hit him point blank and walked away like nothing happened. That's not an act, that's grit. Number 11. Alice Elizabeth Doherty. Alice Elizabeth Doherty, known as the Werewolf Girl, was born with hypertrichosis lanuginosa, which is a condition so rare her entire body was covered in soft, pale hair from head to toe. Her unusual appearance drew attention from infancy, and her family eventually introduced her to the exhibition circuit. She quickly became a familiar presence in traveling curiosity shows. People were stunned by the sight of a child who seemed wrapped in golden fur. But unlike many sideshow acts, Alice didn't perform with gimmicks or stage personas. She simply stood as she was, quiet and dignified. Her image became iconic in sideshow history, not because of flash, but because of her authenticity. Doctors were equally fascinated, struggling to fully understand her rare genetic condition. Alice's story isn't just about how she looked, it's about how she handled that attention. While displayed as an oddity, she carried herself with quiet strength and patience. Number 10. Daisy and Violet Hilton. Forever together. Daisy and Violet Hilton were born in 1908 in Brighton, England, and were conjoined at the hip. Raised by their birth mother at first, they were later placed under guardians who capitalized on their condition. That path led them into the performing arts. Despite facing constant challenges, Daisy and Violet found their stride as entertainers. They sang, danced, and played instruments, captivating audiences across multiple venues. They appeared in circus acts, stage productions, and even the cult film Freaks, alongside fellow sideshow stars. As they navigated life conjoined, they also fought legal battles to gain independence. Eventually, they succeeded in emancipating themselves and continued performing into adulthood. Later in life, they transitioned into retail work and lived more quietly. Though their lives were shaped by both spectacle and struggle, one thing was constant: they had each other. Through fame, manipulation, and freedom, Daisy and Violet stood strong, shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip. Number 9. William Hutchings. William Hutchings wasn't a visual spectacle, he was a mental phenomenon. Nicknamed the Lightning Calculator, he stunned audiences with the speed and accuracy of his mental math. Promoted by P.T. Barnum, Hutchings performed across the country, quickly gaining fame for solving complex equations on the spot. Even President Ulysses S. Grant watched him work at the White House. His calculations weren't just fast, they were flawless. After his stage career, Hutchings didn't disappear. He published a book explaining his techniques, offering readers a chance to understand the logic behind the spectacle. While sideshows often focused on the unusual and physical, Hutchings proved intellect could draw crowds too. He wasn't treated as a curiosity, he was seen as a genius. His performances made people think instead of staring. William Hutchings didn't just amaze audiences, he taught them. And when the spotlight faded, his legacy continued in ink, pages, and the minds he inspired. In short, this man was a legend. Number 8. Jojo the Dogfaced Boy. Fedor Jevtichew, born in Russia in 1868, had a rare condition called hypertrichosis that caused thick hair to grow across his face and body. Named as Jojo the Dogfaced Boy, he toured the world under P.T. Barnum's spotlight. Barnum made up a story claiming Fedor had been raised in the wild and his father was some sort of beast. It was all fiction, of course, but it sold tickets. In reality, Fedor was intelligent and multilingual, but during performances, he was often made to bark and growl like an animal. That was the role forced on him. Despite the degrading act, he handled fame with quiet strength. Tragically, he died of pneumonia at age 35, leaving behind one of the most memorable legacies in sideshow history. Fedor's life shows how perception can replace truth, and how the man behind the fur was far more than the image they created for him. Number 7. Myrtle Corbin. If you've ever wished for an extra pair of legs, you might rethink it after hearing about Myrtle Corbin. Born in 1868, she drew attention early due to a rare condition called dipygus. It gave her 2 pelvises and 4 legs, each set moving independently. She could walk, run, and even dance with grace, turning what others might see as a burden into a gift. Of course, life wasn't always easy. Finding clothes that fit was likely a daily struggle. But Myrtle didn't shy away from the spotlight. She joined circuses and sideshows, embracing her uniqueness and captivating audiences everywhere. Billed as the 4-legged girl from Texas, she brought Southern flair to her performances. Off stage, Myrtle lived a surprisingly ordinary life. She married, had several children, and eventually stepped away from the limelight. As attitudes toward sideshows changed, she quietly retired, finally finding balance between fame and peace. She was a legend. Number 6. Martin Lorello. Martin Lorello, famously called the Owl Man, possessed one of the strangest abilities ever seen on a circus stage. He could rotate his head a full 180 degrees. Without turning his shoulders, Martin could slowly twist his head completely backward and stare directly behind him. Through years of training and an extremely rare anatomical condition, he managed to dislocate his vertebrae on command, without pain or injury. While most contortionists relied on overall body flexibility, Lorello's act focused entirely on this one horrifying maneuver. He became a staple in sideshows and variety acts, leaving audiences speechless and doctors utterly baffled. His skill didn't bring the mainstream fame of bigger names, but among circus circles, he was legendary. The head turn wasn't just a trick, it was a raw anatomical spectacle. Lorello's act continues to stand out as one of the most jarring, unforgettable physical feats ever performed. Number 5. Thumb on the Show. Thumbelina may be fiction, but Tom Thumb was very real. His real name? Charles Sherwood Stratton, a pint-sized performer who left a massive impact on the sideshow world. Born in 1838 in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Tom was discovered by iconic showman P.T. Barnum at just 5 years old. From then on, he became a phenomenon. Standing a bit over 2 feet tall, he charmed audiences with his wit, talent, and flair, doing everything from singing and dancing to impersonating famous figures. While his size drew people in, it was his charisma that made them stay. Barnum made sure Tom Thumb toured widely, even performing overseas. He met Queen Victoria, and after marrying fellow performer Levvenia Warren, they became a media sensation, even introduced to President Abraham Lincoln. Despite his stature, Tom Thumb left behind a gigantic legacy. He helped redefine entertainment and open the door for others like him. Number 4. Isaac W. Sprag. Isaac W. Sprag, famously called the real-lie human skeleton, endured a devastating condition, progressive muscular atrophy, that left him weighing just over 18 kilograms in adulthood. Born in Massachusetts in 1841, Isaac's frailty made it nearly impossible to hold a steady job. But when he joined the sideshow world under P.T. Barnum's banner, he found a strange sort of belonging. Constantly needing nourishment, he carried a milk flask to survive between shows. Isaac fascinated and startled audiences, but behind the spotlight was a man quietly battling his own demons. His addiction to gambling drained his earnings, and despite his fame, he died impoverished in 1887. Isaac's life captures the paradox of circus fame. On stage, he was a legend. Off stage, he faced relentless hardship. His story reminds us that even those who seem larger than life are often just trying to hold theirs together. The applause fades, but the struggle behind the curtain stays painfully real. What do you think about this skicky guy? Number 3. The Colorado Brothers. Lazarus and Joannes Baptista Colloredo, conjoined twins born in Italy in the 17th century, were among the earliest recorded cases of their kind. Lazarus managed to live a somewhat ordinary life. He married and had children, while Joannes, his parasitic twin, relied completely on him to survive. Together, they toured across Europe, captivating crowds curious about their rare condition. Their fame even reached royalty, performing before King Charles I of England. But their tale took a grim twist when Lazarus was convicted of murder. His life was ultimately spared, as executing him would also end Joannes's life, raising ethical questions even back then. Their experience is a sobering reflection of how society often viewed physical differences as spectacles. Still, it also reveals the strength and defiance of individuals like Lazarus, who refused to be boxed in by circumstance. Their story continues to echo today, urging awareness. Number 2. Franchesco Lentini. Franchesco Lentini's life was as extraordinary as his body. Born in 1889 with a parasitic twin, he had 3 legs and additional genitalia. Mocked in childhood, his perspective changed after visiting a home for disabled children, inspiring him to make something of himself. He joined sideshows and later toured with Barnum and Bailey for over 40 years. Dubbed the Three-Legged Wonder, Lentini's humor, optimism, and charisma won hearts around the globe. Rather than hiding, he celebrated his uniqueness, becoming a cherished icon in the circus world. Franchesco wasn't just a performer, he was a symbol of grit and positivity. His journey reminds us that challenges don't define our lives, choices do. Do you shrink under pressure or rise above it like Lentini did? His story proves that no matter your obstacles, you can still walk or run your path with pride. And in his case, maybe with one extra leg to carry you further. Number 1. Clawing at success. Grady Styles, famously known by his unique nickname Lobster Boy, wasn't your average sideshow act. He was something else entirely. Born in 1937 with a rare condition called ectrodactyly, which gave his hands and feet a claw-like form, Grady embraced his distinct physical traits and turned them into a carnival phenomenon. Lobster Boy wasn't just known for the claws. He was a magnetic figure, entertaining crowds with his personality and flair. Grady quickly became a standout on the sideshow circuit, mesmerizing audiences with his bold charisma and, of course, those unforgettable clawed limbs. He knew how to work with what he was given. Outside the spotlight, though, his life took a darker turn, filled with personal struggles and heartbreak. But skipping the gritty details, his impact in sideshow history still holds firm. Grady Styles, the infamous Lobster Boy, truly clawed his way into the hearts of those who loved a good spectacle, proving even claws could charm a crowd. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon in the next one.